Everyone wants to take their business, their skills, to the next level. Small and mid-sized business owners have exceptional insight into how to do this. They endure and thrive because they find ways to overcome the challenges that come their way, and they can teach us valuable lessons to apply to our own companies and lives. Stephen Nooner, founder and owner of Alkali, a company with a unique process that helps businesses more effectively buy and manage their insurance programs. And Bob Gibbons, builder of Riata Commercial Realty, a real estate advisor and tenant advocate, are two prominent Metroplex businessmen who, along with their weekly guests, will ask their and your probing questions, finding impactful solutions that will help you reach for the next level. Here are your hosts, Stephen Nooner and Bob Gibbons.
Welcome to The Next Level, conversations that propel business. This is your host, Bob Gibbons.
And I'm your host, Stephen Nooner, and I'm really excited today. We have a next leveler. That's what you are when you come on the show. Eve Meyer is here, and Eve is the CEO of Social Media Delivered. Social Media Delivered leverages the power of social media with proven strategies that work. Eve was recognized by Forbes as the seventh most influential woman in social media. That's right, 7.
That's amazing.
That's amazing,
it's
right?
Like the
We're gonna
perfect
talk
number.
about that, yes. And she's written several books, but notably Social Media for the CEO and Social Media Business Equation. To learn more about Eve or her business, please visit socialmediadelivered.com. Thank you for having a URL that I don't have to spell. Or follow her on Twitter at LinkedIn Queen. Welcome, Eve.
Thank you.
LinkedIn Queen. Mm-hmm. What's that story?
So back in the day, a long time ago, about 8 years actually, I was working for a company and someone asked me to help their friend on LinkedIn because they were going to look for a job. And I was pretty new to LinkedIn. I wasn't on any other social media. So I started looking at it, and then it was 2008. So the economy was not pretty at all. And I knew that I would probably be smart to look for a job myself. And I accidentally found a sales lead for the company I was working for on LinkedIn. And it had me looking at LinkedIn in a different way, that maybe it wasn't just a place to find a job. Maybe it was a place where sales and connections could happen. So I spent the next 6 months on that, and I got really good at it. Started teaching companies how to use it for prospecting. And someone said, boy, you're really good. You're like the LinkedIn queen. And I thought, this person is brilliant. So I named myself that.
All right. Well, speaking of brilliance, we always start off the show with a quote from somebody really smart, and usually it's not our guest or Stephen. But this week, we are going to use a quote from our guest.
Oh.
Picked right up on that, didn't you, Stephen? All right. So our quote this week is actually from this wise person named Eve Meyer. And it says, she said, stop putting everyone else first, put yourself first, and go for it. That sounds awfully selfish. What did you mean by that?
Oh, good. Controversial statements here. Well, actually, when you're talking about I wrote books, I did write a couple books on social media and business, but I also wrote a book on online dating, which is basically the same thing. You're just marketing a different product if you really think about it, right? Yeah, totally. So
let's not go there.
Yeah. So when I wrote that book, this was actually a line from this book, because I found that a lot of women I spoke to didn't put themselves first. And there are men that do this as well. But I found that it was more women that I came across who didn't put themselves first. They were always putting a sick mom or a child or their business or their charity group first. And I saw so many people who became eventually unable to meet the needs of that charity group or their sick mom or their child because they never took care of themselves and they put themselves last. And I don't think it's the right way to be. I try to be an example for my daughter, who's 9 years old, to grow up and be a strong woman by putting myself first and taking care of myself emotionally, spiritually, physically, in all the ways that I need to, so that I can show her that she needs to put herself first so she can take care of the things and the people that she loves, whether it's business or her family, whatever she chooses to place importance on.
Yeah, that's really interesting take, because when I really like some of the quotes, like you help enough people get what they want, you have no problem with get what you want, or the Zig Ziglar. But that's an interesting way of looking at it, and maybe it's because maybe as men we're just more selfish.
Well,
So
I
we
can tell
got
you
to
from-
focus on everyone else. And
From
make sure we don't.
firsthand experience, my father died last year, and
sorry.
it happens, and it was time. But my mom spent her whole time only taking care of him and putting him first. And at the end, his last sort of week and a half, he was in the hospital and or nursing home, and she was sick, and she couldn't come to the hospital for the last week because she had put so much into him, she hadn't taken care of herself. So anyway,
Yeah, I
that's
agree.
kind of
And
a cool
I don't
idea.
know why it's different between men and women. And when I started doing this, originally the idea was I met so many women who, once they had I got divorced, and it was of course rough, as it is for everyone.
Sure.
And you make a decision about what you want your new life to be like. And I wanted to date, and I talked to other women about experiences. And when they would tell me, oh, I'll date in 10 years, or I'll date when this is right, they weren't going after whatever kind of relationship they wanted because they were putting everybody else first. And I just found that a recurring theme with women a lot in general. I see it sometimes with men, and I don't know why. I think that there's a natural caretaking instinct that has happened with women for sure, and history has put women in positions where they've definitely been more of the caretaker. So I think some of that is left over from that, and now we have more opportunities to do what we want and what we can.
Got it. So let's go back to your company. So how does helping a friend then turn into finding a lead, turn into I've started a company?
Well, a lot of people tell me how brilliant I am because it was 2008 and I was starting a social media company. And once again, you got to remember, it's 2008. It was not brilliance. It was desperation. And desperation is a huge motivator.
It causes brilliance.
Right?
sometimes.
Oh, yes. It brings on so much brilliance in just the right time. And really, this company was started on a lot of people who had been fired or laid off from their companies because the companies were suffering, who were on unemployment. We had a robust and continue to have a robust unpaid internship program that comes with a certification. And this came from people who are very smart, trying different ideas in social media for business and going to companies and me saying, hey, we'll do this for free. And then, hey, you're a dentist? I do this for my dental cleanings for my daughter and I. And, oh, you're a pizza place? Pizza looks delicious. We would totally do social media for that. So everything started with trade. And then I remember the first time I had one employee. We were both on unemployment. And we closed our first deal. I came home and I was so proud. And I was like, guess what? We are a $24,000 a year company now. And we were happy, and we had really cheap champagne. So when we first, started out, it was free, then it was trade, and then we started making a little bit of money, and then it grew.
Barter. The
Yes.
barter economy, as it
Yes.
used to be called.
Absolutely.
So what kind of industry did you get your first paid business from?
My first deal was from an entrepreneur in California. Her name was Tammy Burnell. Her name is still Tammy Burnell. Really smart lady, sweet, wanted to do some things on social media and gave me a shot. And just to help her in her business. So most of my stuff at first was business to business social media, which is a strange place to start because most companies are focused in business to consumer social media. So we started out in business to business because that was the world I had mostly come from and sold in and understood and marketed. And then in the next 2 years, we started getting into business to consumer and some nonprofit.
How did you get that client from California when you were here in Texas?
On social media. So I felt like the only way I could tell people I was adept and capable at social media was by being a leader by example and it myself.
So she just saw something you had posted in LinkedIn or something?
Sure. This was 8 years ago. I have no idea. I feel like maybe it was on Twitter, perhaps, but I feel like maybe, I'm not sure.
What was her
actually.
exact height and weight?
She was gorgeous and still is, actually.
Well, so your industry, since has exploded.
Yes.
And there are a lot of companies out there. What sets you guys apart from the other providers?
Well, a few things. And then just talking about how it's exploded, it's been growing and growing, but we're still at the beginning.
Oh, man.
And for example, the spend in social media in 2015 was $7 billion, and it's predicted to be $17 billion by 2019. So the growth now is huge. And even though there are many companies, I feel like there's enough business to go around for sure.
Sure.
I would say what sets us apart is we at Social Media Delivered are a lot of times referred to as an anti-agency. So
What do you mean by
we don't act like a typical agency. Our proposals are not pretty. They're not 28 pages long. They get to the point. There is a clear price for a clear description of what kind of work we'll actually do. We don't go to companies and tell them everything that they're doing is wrong and we have figured out everything and we know all, because we don't. And even if we did, something on Snapchat's going to change tomorrow, and I'm not going to know that. So I think the fact that we go in and we listen and we have some ideas of what could be improved, and we also tell them the truth about what they're doing well, is apparently really revolutionary. Another thing that happened recently that I thought was pretty fun is we were in a meeting with a company in San Francisco, a very large company, and we came in and there were 9 people at the table, and they said, would you like to hook up your presentation? And we were like, we actually don't have a presentation. And they were like, okay. And then
No
we handed them,
PowerPoint?
right, we handed them this weird, it's weird, it's called paper, right? We handed them this paper, and it was a colored report, and it was 3 pages long, and we walked through it, and it talked about their current social media compared to their competitors and what they were doing right, and what we thought would be areas of improvement. And they told us it was the best meeting they'd had with an agency. So I guess we're kind of vintage in that way. We like to work with people in person. We enjoy it, even though we're a company that is talented at forming relationships for our clients online.
So how do you keep relevant when Google and the other platforms keep changing things so fast?
Well, luckily we have 25 people now that all have different talents. So I am pretty darn good at Twitter, and I'm one of the best at LinkedIn, but I'm not so great at Snapchat, and I'm still trying because I'm old, first of all, right? I'm 42 years old, and there are people in the company, fortunately, who are all about whatever platform they love. So some people love Snapchat, some people love Instagram, some people love Pinterest. And so in the office each month, we have lessons on what has changed that month. And if something big happens, like happened with Twitter today, with some of the links going out that you include in pictures, and now you can post things with more characters, we typically are hearing about that on a daily and sometimes up to the hour basis, because we're monitoring everything.
Speaking of people, so why would great people want to work for you
Well, we've won
or with you?
Dallas Business Journal's Best Places to Work Awards a couple of times. We've won Women-Owned Business Awards. It's one of the best places to work, and I take that very seriously, because my job is to create and maintain the culture, and I have not always done it perfectly. But when I look around at the culture right now, it's right where we want it to be. It's incredible. We have 4 core values. They are no cats allowed, which is about transparency, telling the truth. Everyone tells the truth. Everyone knows what everyone's salary level is. They're on levels, so you don't have to hope that you get as much money as someone else.
What does that have to do with cats?
Cats, like cattiness.
Oh, okay.
You don't, no cats allowed, no cattiness. You don't break each other down, you
I
build
gotcha.
each other up, right? Make life funner. We have fun at work. We have an annual pie fight where we literally throw pies at each other's faces, and 24-hour Christmas party. It's incredible.
That's
We want to come.
Yes. And then we have It's Up to Me, which is taking initiative. And then we have Wonderfully Imperfect, which is shown as a 3-legged unicorn. And it means we tell our clients we're going to mess up. It's going to happen. But when we do, we'll apologize and we'll fix it.
That's awesome.
Very cool.
Well, we're going to go to break, but before we do, your company is growing and your revenue is up. Everything's great, right? Stick around and we'll find out from Eve what else you might want to keep your eye on.
And now, Confessions of a Recovering Landlord.
This is Bob Gibbons with Riata Commercial Realty, and I am your recovering landlord. After 20 years as a landlord, I now use that experience only for the benefit of companies that lease or buy office buildings and warehouses. Today's confession: knowledge is power. We all negotiate from a position of power and strength, or at least we want to. In any negotiation, the party with the most knowledge probably has the upper hand. And landlords count on this being the case whenever you're negotiating a lease, because most landlords are professional real estate investors and they hire professional leasing agents and property managers. Landlords are in the market every day negotiating leases, while tenants probably only negotiate 1, maybe 2 leases every few years. So tenants feel outgunned. Don't let landlords have all the power. As a former landlord for 20 years, I understand how landlords think and what motivates them. So let me put that knowledge and experience to work on your side of the negotiation. To learn more, contact me at texastenantrep.com. Again, that's texastenantrep.com.
Have you started making plans to take your business to the next level in 2016? Hi, I'm Stephen Nooner, founder and CEO of Alkali. We have a trademark process called the Empowered Advantage that enables CEOs, business owners, and entrepreneurs to more effectively buy and manage their insurance. Before sitting down to make your plans for the new year, here are just a few things to consider. Would you say that you have an actual insurance strategy, one that you can articulate, or have you just purchased a policy here and there over the years? If you have an insurance strategy, was it discussed under the pressure of a renewal deadline or considered earlier in the year to avoid fire drill decision making? If your answer was no to either of these questions, then you may not have the right partner on your team. Visit alkaliservices.com to contact us and take the next step to a bigger and better future.
This is Mike Rose, CEO of Mojo Media Labs and author of Return on Energy, ROE Powers ROI. And I'm here taking myself to the next level on the Next Level Show.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Next Level. We're here with our special guest, Eve Meyer, CEO of Social Media Delivered. If you want to learn more about Eve, you may visit socialmediadelivered.com or follow her on Twitter at LinkedIn Queen.
Shouldn't that be on LinkedIn, not Twitter?
I'm also on LinkedIn. I'm everywhere.
Okay. All right. Hey, let's circle back real quick. I wanted to ask you about what was one of the scariest risks you ever had to take in starting your business?
And starting my business. I'm going to talk about something else. I'm not going to talk about starting the business because I think you hear those stories and people become successful. Otherwise, you don't hear the stories about the business. The thing to me is I've been in business for 8 years, and I really thought that by now I would have it all figured out. It would be smooth sailing, and I would be the brilliant, rich woman you see before you. Sadly, that's not how it is. There have been bumps in this road and times at the company that were harder than when I first started the company. And I think that was because more people depend on me to make payroll. More clients depend on us to provide great services. And it was shocking to me that 8 years in, I could still feel like a failure. I could still feel so frustrated that I wasn't sure how things would turn out. A couple of months ago, when I was in such a situation and we were going through a rough time because we had grown dramatically revenue-wise, but not profit-wise, I was really struggling with some business decisions. And because of that, I stayed up all night. I do not ever stay up all night. I haven't stayed up all night for at least 10 years. And I don't, well, no, maybe not when my kid was a baby. Okay, 9 years, but I'm not good at it. And I was just really frazzled. And I also happened to be speaking at a conference, which is a great combination to get on stage after not sleeping all night. I looked terrible. I watched the video, and it's just horrible. First of all,
is that available on
I'm not going to tell you where it is. I just subjected people to, my hair is always big, but it was particularly like taking up half the room. I'm pretty sure I forgot to put mascara on, which is usually like the complete aspect of my makeup. And I got on stage and I got really frustrated because, well, I hadn't slept and because I was on a panel with really smart people and I just felt like, they weren't telling the truth. And I was frustrated of an aspect of my company, not my company, but the industry as a whole. So one thing that's going on in social media is we continue to get better and better measurements, right? We get better analytics and better technology, which is exciting and useful. However, social media 6, 7, 8 years ago used to really be all about the art, the creative, the relationships. Mm-hmm. And now we go more and more into the technology and the analytics. There needs to be a balance between these two. And I feel like a lot of companies have gotten so into the measurement, they have forgotten to build relationships with their clients in an effort to actually drive business. And it makes me really frustrated because I love the creative. I'm not a huge fan of the analytics. I see the value. I think there has to be a balance. So what happened was on stage, I got frustrated because everybody was talking about how great the analytics were and nobody was talking about the relationship with people, the art. And I kind of lost my mind. And I went on a rant to the audience of a few hundred people about how weren't they tired of how it was now? Didn't they wish for 6 years ago when we could form real relationships through art? And weren't they really just sick of, not an expletive there, but almost an expletive, spreadsheets, right? And I just went on this rant and looked at everybody and I was like, do you feel this way? And then I stopped and I thought, my career is over. These were very important people, and I just Jerry Maguired this. Like, it just happened, and 10 seconds went by, and luckily half the room raised their hand and said that they felt the same way. And then we had a really good conversation with smart people on the stage who spoke honestly about their struggle with this art and science balance. So that was a huge risk. Luckily, after I got off the stage, there were 6 CMOs who wanted meetings with me, which usually when I get off a stage, I would say there will be only 1 or 2. And that speech turned into a deal that was our largest client ever.
Wow.
Nice.
Congratulations.
Way to take
you.
risks.
And authentic. I mean, and what if you had gotten sleep? Who knows?
I don't know. Probably wouldn't have been as exciting.
Nobody. Zip. Crickets.
You, in the beginning, when you were sharing that, you were talking about revenue and then profit. When you started realizing that you weren't being hitting your profit metrics or whatever they were there indicators? I mean, or was it like you hit a breakdown, or was there something that caused you to become more focused on that?
I think that, sometimes you set yourself goals, and I had a very specific revenue goal I wanted to get to. And I
Gotcha.
think I did a bad job at paying attention to profit because I was so focused, as many entrepreneurs are, goal oriented and getting to a certain point.
Sure.
And because of that, I think that we were giving things away that were free. We were not choosing business that was profitable, and we made a lot of mistakes that we've rectified.
And that, it can be challenging. I mean, we struggle. We teach classes and stuff to get things to give things away to help educate people on insurance, because a lot of times the really small companies don't get the high level of expertise. But we do that also selfishly. If they ever do call us, then they're more informed so that they can have a chance of being more profitable. And the reason why we do that is because selfishly, because it's not always sustainable. I mean, it's like you have to have a sustainable business. You can have all the revenue in the world. If you have no profit, then it's hard to give people, your great team, raises and a great place to work and all the things that people expect.
Right.
So I find that a really hard balance because I really want to grow. And so thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Eve, give us one of the highlights. What's one of the best things that has happened in the last year or two?
I got married.
Ah,
Congratulations.
And thank you.
Bob could have officiated. He has a.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Did you do that?
He's
I am now an
official.
ordained minister.
Did you do that online?
Exactly.
Because my best friend did that, and she did our wedding. And it was awesome.
Is
She
hers
spoke
laminated,
so
though?
beautifully.
Yeah, she does.
His
I don't
laminated.
remember.
See, I paid
I'm
up
not
for
sure.
the extra
Nice.
wallet laminated
Now you're really
card.
fancy. You should show that at bars and concerts. Or probably get you backstage.
Big time.
Really?
It
Oh.
might happen. I don't know.
Okay.
You could try it.
I got to go to concerts first.
Yeah, so I got married, and so I wrote a book on online dating, and I used my techniques, and I actually wasn't trying to get married, and then I accidentally fell in love, which was interesting.
That could be a song.
I could.
I fooled around and fell in love.
Yes, that's
was
pretty
a
much
great
what
one.
happened. And I married somebody who is an equal partner, and we also are both entrepreneurs and love working. And so that whole process, because I am the art side and he is the technology side, he really changed the way I was able to grow my company and the way it was organized.
Are you working together?
Yes, we do.
Really? Was he
is our-
working with you before you?
No.
Oh, okay. Good.
No,
That
He's
would've
had
been
his own
awkward.
company, and then we've just decided to full-time work together.
This
and
is
he's
a
our
real
VP of
merger.
technology. Yes. So, and he's a great stepdad. So, I think spending time with somebody who has the same goals and enjoys work as much as I do. Well, number one had to be crazy, so that was interesting to find that person. So I enjoyed that. And that just really put my life in focus and where I wanted it to be. We also moved to Carrollton, which I love downtown Carrollton, and became a part of that community.
You office in downtown
We
Carrollton.
office in
That's
downtown
cool.
Carrollton. We live in downtown Carrollton. We changed our life where we downsized and we walk to work, and we live in that community and know all the business owners there. We work in social media for downtown Carrollton, and I've never felt such a sense of community as I do there. I love it.
Nice.
So when you met your husband and now he's in the business with you, were there steps that you took or anything that how did that evolve and how have your roles played out?
Yeah, I was really tremendously nervous about it because I thought it would be a terrible idea, and I thought that our relationship would suffer because we would work together. So he was actually a contractor for the company at just a little bit, and then we stepped it up, and then basically we just abused the heck out of him and got as much work out of him as he could for as little money as possible. But then he changed the company and did such great work that we couldn't ignore it. And so he's now our VP of technology, and we work together a lot. And I think that that goes a lot back to how men and women had worked together, because honestly, most men I had worked with in the past or dated would tend to feel somewhat emasculated around me because I am very aggressive and I'm very goal-oriented. Mm-hmm. And I was concerned that he would feel the same way. But when you find the right person, they think everything about you, even the weird things that everyone before have not liked, is hot. So he just thought, wow, you treat your people well, you inspire and lead, you're growing this company. That's
like
killer,
that.
right? And so I was shocked by this, and he is just a huge brain and brilliant. So that to me was just very sexy.
So if you had to change one thing about running your business, how you've done it in the past, whatever, what would you go back and change?
I would go back and pay more attention to profit. I would go back and understand more things about cash flow. Cash flow for a small company to me is the most difficult thing you deal with. And having the strength and the guts to go to large companies you're selling to and say, I can't accept these payment terms. I need these payment terms to be sooner, or I can't make it. I think a lot of times as small companies, we're scared to say those things to large companies because we're so grateful that this large company has given us the business. But our work is just as valuable, and we deserve to ask for what we need to do good work for clients.
What would you say your 3 biggest insights are that you've developed over the 8 years you've had the company?
I might repeat some of my core values, because my biggest insights would be, I started this company based on the fact that I had had some horrible bosses and I never wanted to repeat what they did. So I remembered those things. And then I had some amazing bosses who taught me lessons about make life funner and no cats allowed. And I took those things and started this company with that in mind. I like to make money. It's a lot of fun. Sure. But there have been so many times during this journey where people have come with job offers that were 3 times as much as the money I was making. And when things are tough, you have to really consider, what are you doing? And if you're an entrepreneur, the chances are you're not just there making money. You're trying to build some kind of culture that means something for the people that work there and the clients that you serve. And that's what I think we're trying to do.
So as a social media wizard that you are, what do you say to somebody when they ask you, all right, what's the most important thing I should be doing in social media for my business?
So I tell them, first of all, to understand what their business goals are, because a lot of people don't. And then once they understand that, they need to think about the people they need to reach to achieve those goals. And then they pick the social media platform that has those people on it. So if I'm trying to reach really young people and I'm spending all my time on Facebook, it's probably not real smart,
You're
right?
Too late.
So you got to figure out where you need to be. And also just not to overextend yourself. It takes on average about 32 hours per month to do one social media channel effectively. So many companies are trying to do 5 social media channels with a person, and it's just not realistic.
Interesting.
What's next?
What's next? Well, my mom's in town today, so I'm going to go see my mom. I'm pretty excited about that.
Hey, Mom.
Let's see, what is next? I'm going to speak at the National Sporting Goods Association next week, and Sugar Ray Leonard is speaking there too, so I thought that was really cool. And I got invited back to speak at NATO in Belgium.
NATO.
Oh, wow.
Wow. That is cool.
Yeah, it made me feel special.
I guess. Well, being that top 7 influential social media queens that you are. But,
it was hard killing the other 6 people. It really was. I feel like raised to number 1.
All right, we're going to wrap the show up right there on that thought. Hey, thanks for listening with us, everybody. If you'd like to learn more about Eve, please go to her website, socialmediadelivered.com. If you'd like to know more about the show, who we've interviewed in the past, go to nextlevelshow.com and check us out on all the social media stuff, Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn.
And if you want to be married by Bob, the official minister,
if you can afford me,
go visit his
with my
website.
laminated pocket thing. See you guys next week.
See you.
You have been listening to The Next Level, Conversations That Propel Business with Stephen Nooner and Bob Gibbons. Join us every Tuesday at 1:30 p.m. for more prolific conversations that will take your business to the next level.